like to call the October 15th, 2019 Road Committee meeting to order. Let's start with a Pledge of Allegiance.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, the first thing on the agenda this evening is Article 43. There has been some questions, I understand, regarding that, well, the auditor's had some questions about the article. I'd like to request that the selectmen forward us the exact language of the questions, so we can actually more adequately
Evening, Ed Walsh, Selectman. We did have a conference call late this afternoon with our auditor, and the questions that she came up with are valid questions, but we as a board have not had a chance to discuss them, so, amongst ourselves. So tomorrow night at the Selectmen's meeting, most of those questions will be coming up, so, and we're gonna discuss them and see where we end up going from there. So that's pretty much all I can tell you about it right now, because like I say, as a board, we haven't discussed them, so anything I'd say would just be my opinion, so.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, I'd like to, at this point, call up Arnie Murray, to have him discuss the history behind Article 43. Now, Arnie, if you could come out.
Good evening, Arnold Murray, Langley Shores Drive. And I think it was around 2004, maybe 2005, the state ruled that you couldn't use public money on a private road, being that the people on a private road, if they spent money on a private road, even though the public could drive over it, at any time, that private road could put a gate over the road and block it. So they said that you couldn't use money for a private road. In 2009, they changed the rule. They found that there was a public purpose, because that's what the words they used. There was no public purpose for using private money. I mean, public money. They changed it in 2009. They did Law 3106, Title 23. And in that, the name of that title is, the purpose is public assistance to help maintain, protect a great lake, great pond. And a great pond is anything over 10 acres. If it's a man-made pond, it's 30 acres. So that law changed so that you would be able to get public money for assistance to road to help protect the lake. And in our case, when that came up, we went to York County Soil and Water and met with AWA, and we met with the DEP, and we got a 319 grant. The corrections that were done on our road for the 319 grant, which was engineered by York County Soil and Water, was that we had to add, I'm trying to remember, but because it was 10 years ago, but it was to add gravel to the road, crown the road so it runs off to the ditches, pave the road, and put in catch basins, and grade the road so it went to the left side of the road, so it would go in the ditches, not onto the water side. And from that, we got the DEP approved what we said we were gonna do, and we did them and got the grant. And so, under this rule, what we thought we were trying to do was to get assistance, it's not to do all the maintenance on the road, but you guys that plow know that if the ground's not frozen and you don't have skid plates, you're plowing that ground right off, and you make a berm. So we have to, every year, if we have to plow the road before, we have to repair it. We have to bring it in so the water sheds off. You have to have that crown. That crown is necessary to get to the ditches. So, I don't know, I would think that, this is a benefit to the town. That's what the state saw, was that protecting the lake is considered a public park, belongs to everybody. And if it gets polluted, and I know that in your packets that you have a thing there from Maine, from the University of Maine, which they did a study of 34 lakes. And 10% decline in water quality is a 30% decline in assessed value. So if your water gets dirtier, you're gonna have a reduction in the assessed value of your property. And not only that, when you are washing sediment into the lake, it kills the fish, because the sediment gets in the gills of the fish. And it makes those nutrients that are washed in there without going through like a vegetative area or somewhere to help filter out that water, the vegetation grows, and then you have weeds growing. So this is what we're hoping, we're all working together to get done here, is to help the taxpayers with keeping the lakes from being polluted. So.
Thank you, Arnie. In the packet that I handed out to,
That microphone closer.
in the is that better? No? Is that? In the packet, I handed out copies of the statute entitled 23-3101, defines repair and maintenance. This all pertains to private roads. 3106 is the statute that allows for municipal assistance for protecting or restoring a great pond. Our article was written by an attorney, Article 43, written by an attorney, reviewed by the town attorney. The town attorney stated the article was legal, MMA concurred. The town meeting voted to establish the statutory fund, and the application was developed in accordance with state statute. When these questions started coming out, we did get some guidance from DEP, and I'm just going to read the letter that DEP sent. This is the first time I've actually seen the language of this statute, but I was vaguely aware of its existence. I asked a bit in the office to see if DEP has ever created any rules pursuant to this statute, and it doesn't appear that there have been any rules created or intended to be created. While I am not an attorney, it seems that the key in this statute is the term may. The municipality may appropriate funds, but it doesn't create a requirement for the municipality to do so based on my reading. Additionally, it says that DEP may adopt rules to carry out the purposes of this section, but DEP has not created any rules. Because we're talking about a municipality paying for work done on private property, the statute you reference lists activities that could be reimbursed by the municipality, but does not appear to require the town to do so. Instead, it lays out conditions that the town could use to consider reimbursement for those repairs if it prevents stormwater runoff pollution from reaching the Great Pond. The only person I can think of that may have some experience with this would be Wendy Garland in our watershed unit, but I'm unsure she would have much to add. We do have guidance information on the watershed surveys in the Lake Watershed Survey Manual. The only real guidance I can give, based on what I read in the statute, is that any repair would have to comply with Maine's DEP best management practices, for which there is information available in the Gravel Road Maintenance Manual and our Construction Best Management Practice Manuals, with the purpose being to prevent stormwater runoff pollution from reaching the Great Pond. And this was signed by John McLean, who actually did come to town and teach our gravel road maintenance class that we had over the summer. So DEP is referring back to the definition of repair and maintenance defined in 3101. When an application is submitted for reimbursement, the road committee verifies the work meets the requirements of the DEP best management practices described in the Gravel Road Maintenance Manual, which I have right here. If maintenance is not performed, we would then have a repair, which is more costly and allows pollution to occur. How do you protect the lake if you don't maintain the road? According to Maine Lake Society, poorly maintained camp roads are Maine Lake's #1 enemy. As experts estimate, camp roads contribute between 60 to 85% of all nutrient loading in our watersheds, significantly lowers property values, which lowers the tax base, and will ultimately raise taxes on all property owners. It is to the benefit of the whole town to assist the private roads. Also in your packet is a picture, a series of pictures from Langley Shores, which is what Arnie Murray was referencing. And there is, if you look on the left-hand side, the bottom picture, there's a picture of 2 dirt piles, and you'll see the hay bales. This is material that we would have to shovel off every spring, because that is all collecting in an area where it goes, there's a boat ramp right there. So there was a direct shot right into the lake. And the state of Maine and the, did give us a 319 grant to help prevent that. And the part of the road was paved, and there was a catch basin put in there, and that, you know, so all of that material is not going into the lake now because of the help that we received from the state. But there's still maintenance that needs to be performed. I mean, if we don't clean out the catch basins, that material is still going to run right down, because we all know that our plow guys put a lot of salt and sand on our roads. And there was tons of material going into the lake every year that we're now preventing. In the packet, there's also an article on the success that Mousom Lake had, where they had also did a lot of work around the lake, and Mousom Lake was removed from the impaired waters list because of the work that, you know, people come together and took care of the problem areas. The bottom line is, does the town want to protect the lakes or not? I mean, the taxpayers who live on these roads do not get an abatement for town roads.
Dave Winchell, Selectman. I don't know if you guys got the wrong idea here by listening to this, but we are not, as the select board, as far as I know, we have this money, we plan on giving this money out. The questions we have is legal issues, okay? So I don't want this committee to paint a broad brush of what the select board is doing here. We have one objective here, is to meet the requirements that the law states, whether or not what we're allowed to spend the money on and how we spend it. That's the only question right now we have from the auditor. So this is a big spiel for really nothing until we get into the legalities of what we're allowed to do here. The issues we're having that our auditor mentioned to us was that who's checking, does the road qualify, where's the evidence, okay? That's on us, okay? We're not trying to take away any money from any of these camp roads. We just gotta make sure that the money is being placed in the right places, not going to the same people all the time, and there has to be a different method of payment. Right now, I believe we are putting a cart before the horse, okay? Because right now, what is happening is we are getting bills from all these roads, okay? We don't know where the work's being done. Nothing has come to the nobody's come to the select board saying, we are gonna work on this road, we're looking for this kind of money, and, you know, and get your approval first. We're just getting bills, and we have to make sure that these bills are going to the right places and they're acceptable. The problem we have here is, last time I knew, we voted in $50,000, okay? Now that $50,000 has been being chipped away at for the last, how many months, whatever, okay? We don't know whether or not there's 10 roads out there right now doing improvements, and they're all gonna send those bills all in at once, and we'll have no money, okay? So we have to come up with a different, this is just my thought, okay? Now, you guys are an advisory to the select board, correct? Yes, okay. I right now believe that this is a campaign to make us steer in a different direction. We're only doing what the auditor is telling us we have to do, okay? That's all. And myself, any more discussion on this is really wasting your breath. We have to do what the law states. We all know what the impact of the lakes are. We've gone through this for 12 years now, okay? This is the same thing over and over and over. We just need a different way of payment. I want every camp road, as a selectman, to get their piece, but we've got to do it legit.
Ron?
Ron Pucci, President of Loop Road. I'm one of the people that got the money. And before we did anything, we had to fill out a form to show that we were legal and we had an association and that we had the DEP at one time do a test and all that. And we got all that done. And then we submitted, before we did anything, to tell, I believe it was the road committee that...
Yeah, so you don't have to look over everything. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we got the road committee to say, well, what are you gonna do? I went to the town hall and I told Jennifer that, you know, what do we do? Do we pay the contractor, or do we wait for the town to pay us? So in the end, we paid the contractor right when he did the job. And then we waited for the approval, and if they didn't, we had to do it anyway.
Exactly.
So we waited for the approval, and then we got the money back. But we didn't wait, we didn't send you a bill, we did it on our own, and we paid it.
But we did receive bills later on, right? Did we reimburse?
no, what happened was, yeah, you reimbursed.
Okay, so we got
But it
to...
didn't,
Hold
no
on,
contract.
hold on, Dave. Let Ron.
He was speaking to me all day, I figured...
I thought it was, but I am speaking to everybody, I
Yeah,
just
okay,
looking.
okay.
But the point of the matter is that, you know, we didn't, he knew by the time we got the bill to you, well, you already knew because I filled out the paperwork, I went to the town hall, I spoke to the people I was supposed to speak to, and the road committee came out and inspected the road to make sure it was done. And that was like a week before, I don't know when it was, but the road,
Was there any cost, any estimates before?
Yes.
So the road committee had all those numbers?
I believe so, we talked to Leslie and,
But they get the numbers at the same time, we have to know those numbers before any approval's done.
well, you knew the numbers when we got the approval because it was already paid for.
First of all, there's a cap on the amount of money that will go to each, an applying.
What's that?
There's a cap on the money that would be reimbursed, that would go to the applying road association. Each road association will not get no more than $3,000 per year.
Right.
And that was a vote done by the Board of Selectmen, that they put in place a cap.
I understand that. That's fine and dandy and all that, okay? Doesn't mean the $3,000 has to go to every camp road. You have to make sure that you're eligible for it.
Absolutely.
Okay, and that's all.
That is why
Oh, I
an
know that.
application
That's why we
was
fill out that
developed
paperwork.
that follows.
Exactly. What I'm saying now is this, okay? As a select board member, okay, we're getting bills in from here, from there, and there, and there,
How many
okay?
applications have you seen?
We've gotten 4 bills already, okay? And none of them that I know of, okay? Now, all the things have on them, that there are a statutory road association, we know that, it's great, that, all that. The assessor's issue is, okay, is this up and checked before the project, after the project, okay? And was there a cost forward? Meaning, like anybody, we make Will and Joe Letourneau give a cost of every project they do before we approve them. Okay, the unfortunate part here is what you guys are doing, or the road associations, you guys are just sending us bills, okay? No, and we can't be doing that. If you're making one entity of the town do one thing, and then we're getting surprised, it doesn't matter if it's $3,000 or $100. At the end of the day, we have to, as a select board, we have to know what we're looking forward to in the future of expenditures, okay? We could have $20,000 in bills next month on that one account that we don't know about.
The money's already in the...
It doesn't matter if it's in the account or not, okay? We should be able to know what is coming in the future, okay? Now, anybody that I know, now I've worked on a bunch of roads in the town of Acton, camp roads. They always got a price out of me first before I did anything, okay? Now, if you intend to have the town pay your bill, then we should be part of that process. Okay, up front, we should know what it's gonna take, what it's coming out of that account. Okay, we shouldn't be getting bills after the job is done, especially some of these were done back in August. Okay, so if you have jobs being done in November and nobody's inspecting until next May, that job may look a little different, okay? But we need, as a select board, we should have an idea of what's gonna be paid out. We should have the approval, just like we do with Will and Joe Letourneau. That's the way I look at it.
Well, the first thing is that they don't submit the bill to be paid to the town. The bill, as you've heard, is already paid by the road.
But you're looking for the reimbursement, I understand that.
Reimbursement up to $3,000.
Yeah. Okay, do we not get a bill to the town of Acton for that?
After the fact, after they
It's a
do the
bill.
work, after
No, it's
all
not.
the...
It's a bill. It's a bill to the town of Acton, okay? You pay your contractor,
It's a receipt for what they've paid, and you're asking for reimbursement.
so it's a bill to the town of Acton. If we approve it, it's a cost, okay? I don't care how you word it. You're still paying the money out, okay? We want to make sure that these camp roads, and now you guys have got it all figured out, but there are probably other camp roads out there that may want to jump in on this, okay? And we don't, myself, I don't want to see a camp road go out and do all this work thinking they're going to get this money, because they may not.
I don't think that's why the camp roads do that work. They have to, it has to be done. They're not,
We just received,
Just
we just
because-
received a bill for a road for some, what I call maintenance, okay? That was maintenance, okay? Now, we got another bill for close to $4,000 for what some people would consider maintenance, okay? So, unfortunate part about it is, we gotta look at this a little differently and see where the guidelines are here.
Is it-
Because right now, if you look at this, there's only one thing that we can't pay, and that's cutting trees, okay? We have to have some sort of guideline here, because in the end of the day, like our assessor was worried about, was maintenance is maintenance. You know, obviously, everything's preventative maintenance, okay, but you can word it however you want. But at the end of the day, this was set up for doing new catch basins, rock ponds, you know, dry wells, specific stuff there for fixing it. So, but we
Bob,
cannot, we
Bob,
cannot,
come to the- Bob,
we
come to the
cannot,
thing.
we cannot be maintaining camp roads. It's for erosion control issues. And that, and I believe what you guys are doing here
Right, Dave,
is you're running with it.
Let someone else have the floor, please.
I'll let your husband speak in a minute. I would, myself, would like this, the select board would really like to have some time to go over all this, okay, before we get into what's not being done and what is gonna be done.
And also, I'd like to hear from the liaison from the select board.
You heard from me earlier. We'll have more information tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Dave, when this was set up, it wasn't for getting the road up to proper
When you're sitting on
conditions.
camera, sir, the state law says we cannot maintain camp roads.
It doesn't say that.
It
Doesn't say that.
No, it doesn't say that.
Not what it is. You guys' loophole was for erosion issues. The problem is, we're finding is,
Where is it in the statute you can't pay for maintenance?
it says right here.
Where?
It seems like there's just a little bit more than just a question of, are we having the right bills? I mean, you've gone into
You guys are
a
making a
different,
big deal out of nothing right now. We don't know if there's a big deal yet. We still are looking into it.
You're doing all the talking, Dave. That wasn't set up to bring the road up to quality road.
No.
The fund wasn't set up for that. And you're worried about all the money there. When the money runs out, what happens then? Is the town just gonna replenish the money in there?
Very well, man.
Well, it has to go to a town meeting to do that.
Yep.
So, I mean, when the money is gone, the money is gone. If people qualify for it, which is, there has been a bunch of qualifications set up, I believe.
Yes.
That, you know, it was step by step. I think the previous board, before you were on it, you know, spent a lot of time, right, Ed? Setting those rules up to establish what is payable and what is not payable and how it would be verified so that they would be able to get reimbursement. That's all I'm saying. I mean, it wasn't to bring the road up to snuff. It wasn't to put culverts in. It wasn't to put ponds in. It wasn't to do that. That wasn't what the fund was for. The fund was for maintenance and repair of the roads. To keep them at that quality level so that we don't have the deterioration of the roads going into the lakes and the ponds.
If you read,
I'm just saying that's what the fund was set up for. That's what the Article 43 was set up for.
In the end, the board has the final say. They send a bill, like I paid mine, then we sent you for reimbursement, you have the final say. So,
we just want to make this work.
Well, I think that the way, I mean, I did it. I did the whole process. And it worked. I got the road done. I paid the bill. I used the Article 43 after I filled out all the application things to prove that we were qualified, which that did prove that we were qualified. And then after that was done, the guy that did it's all set. So the only thing then is to submit what's left to get the reimbursement, which the Board of Selectmen has the right to say, no, we ain't doing it. Because that's what I said. I said, well, if they don't do it, then we'll pay it, because we pay. So you already have the say. You're the final say in the process. So I don't know what the problem is after that.
I don't want to refuse anybody as a select board member on this funds, okay? We've just got to make sure it's not for general maintenance.
Right.
Well, see, I think the problem you're having is that you think that grading and excavating and crowning isn't part of the process.
Gray area.
Well, I don't think so, because I got the book right here. And this book is the class I went to. It was given by the town, gravel road, excavating and everything.
Actually, it was-
Now, I'd read this to you, but I can't see it because I didn't bring my glasses. But I think someone here might read the benefits of doing the work, of just doing the crowning and the maintaining of that road, what it does for the lakes and for the property. And it's like 10 or 15 things that benefit the lakes. Right here in the manual, it's written by people that do this stuff. I'm not a professional, trust me, but I went to the school. It doesn't make me a professional or an expert. But I did the work, I see what it's done, and it works. I mean, it just works, but you gotta keep doing it. So, if you wanna read.
I have it, because I was at
Right here,
the,
though, the
yeah,
benefits of doing this type of work.
yeah. And this is the manual we use when we
Black and
invest.
white.
I am not arguing with you at all about that. I am just telling you, the state requires us not to spend money on private roads. Okay, now, where is the gray area?
Gray area, there isn't any, because the town meeting voted to do this.
3106 gives you the right to do it.
Right.
I'm just saying, I know the town meeting voted to do this, that's all.
Ken?
I mean,
Ken Wynn, Tattle Street. I submitted the application for ours when we did it for Tattle Street. And I wrote it all out and explained what we did. We graded, we cleaned the culverts, we had some fill brought in. I gave it to the selectmen, and then they looked at it and they had this committee come out here and look at it. And again, when I was involved with it, it's not for capital improvements, it's strictly for just the maintenance and what we do for grade. It was grading the culvert, cleaning out what do you call it, the swales, the runoffs, and cutting out the grass, and that's what we permitted in for. I did request to see if we could put it in for calcium chloride, and Ed said we can't do it. Excuse me. Although John McLean did say at the meeting this year, he said that probably should be part of the maintenance, but that was just, But my understanding is this whole thing, even though the state says that this town can't do that, that's why we went to the residents of the town to get this approved so that they could make the decision that we get no value on terms of our taxes for us. Well, this is the money to help us to maintain the roads. We paid for up front, we sent the bills and the whole bit. I mean, that's the way I did it, and that's the way it was approved with the town, Dave, so. Strictly, I understand it's for maintenance, not in capital improvement, so. And as I say, we submitted to the selectmen reviewed it, and then it was given to them, and they came in and told them, yes, this has been done, and we gave, pretty much that was the deal. So that's what we did.
Joe Diorio from Lakeside Drive Road Association. I was here a few months ago to talk to the selectmen about getting reimbursed for having our ditches cleaned. And I did get the okay. And with this new rules that might be coming out, I just want to make sure we still might get reimbursed, since I do have the equipment coming tomorrow to do our ditches. It's about a 2-day project, and then after they do that, they're doing Langley Shore. So I just want to make sure there's not going to be any issue as far as getting reimbursed, because that's a fair amount of money.
Anything that was pre-approved, still moving forward.
Well, it was, at a selectmen's meeting, they did say yes, they would cover ditch cleaning. Yes. So,
And you submitted all the proper paperwork and whatnot?
no, because last time I did it, I submitted it after the work was done, and it was approved.
Yeah, that's part of the application, is that the work has to be completed and inspected by the road committee before it can be paid out. So the paperwork could not be submitted prior to.
I just want to make sure there won't be any issues between our road and Langley. It's a fair amount of money, and it will definitely be
I
helping the
can't
lake.
guarantee at this point that there is not a problem.
Okay, thank you.
That's why we really need to look into, we don't want anybody going out and doing anything over and above and beyond what they can afford at this point. We don't want to refuse anybody, we're just gonna make sure we're doing it legally. And that was the assessor's issue, we just gotta look into it. That's all I'm getting into at this point, is just to make sure we're covering our tail. Because honestly, the campers deserve the money. We all know that. Money's there, we just gotta make sure we're legally doing it right. Because after we had the concern that we had, we gotta make sure we're covering our tail. That's all.
I just wanted to say, the application that was developed by one of the selectmen, along with several people from the public, follows 3106. So and the application is on the town website. So, and it goes right through, you know, the qualifications. If you're not a road association, you do not qualify for these funds. Is the private road within the watershed of a great pond? If no, you do not qualify. That follows directly the law.
No qualifications.
You know,
Dennis Long. I've been part of this process for a lot of years. The fight for the private roads, and there was a lot of work done by the people on the private roads in the past Board of Selectmen. We gave this to the selectmen. The selectmen had the town's attorney, which is our attorney, look it over, and the town's attorney said that what this was legal to do, according to state statute, with the changes. So the selectmen put it to the people, the town of Acton, and asked them if they wanted to do this or not. And they said yes. And they voted a certain amount of money, and the selectmen put a dollar amount restriction in it. This is the second year that we've been doing this, and it was an agreement. I'm not sure if it's in the ordinance, if it isn't, but I do know it was an agreement a year ago with the Board of Selectmen that when an application was presented to the Selectmen's office, they would turn it over to the road committee. The road committee would investigate, check the road, make sure all of the T's were crossed and the I's were dotted, and then give their recommendation to the selectmen whether or not this project met the qualifications under state law and what the townspeople adopted. And this has worked very well all last year. There wasn't any questions. There was a few things that didn't work under our guidelines, and they were told they couldn't do it, or they couldn't get reimbursement for it. I honestly believe it's the auditor that has their questions, not the assessor. But they're very simple to answer when who checks to make sure the work's being done. Okay, we have the road committee doing that. And they check the guidelines, and they have to follow all these things, and then the selectmen approve it. I don't see what the big deal is. This has been working for quite a while, and there is no loopholes here, has been said. There's no gray areas. The criteria is very clear. And like I said, the main reason why we're doing it is two reasons. The town's attorney said it was legal, and the townspeople voted to do it. And as far as I'm concerned, the townspeople voted to do this until they change it. That's just the way it is. That's just my opinion.
I think it's not the money-wise, it's who else inspects the roads first? Does DEP come down and says, yeah, this is what we gotta do to this road, so we don't get the runoff into the lakes? Or is it just the group of people on that road that makes that decision? Who makes a decision if it's going into the lake and if we're doing the job right? I think that's kind of the thing we're trying to get to here, is who determines what's going in the lake and what's not going in the lake? Does DEP come down on all these roads and ask the people, or tell the people, this is what you gotta do? Or does just a group of people just do it? Oh, this is what I think needs to be done. That's what I'm thinking I'm getting out of this. And we don't wanna pay, the town of Acton don't wanna pay the money for sweeping, because that's not part of going into the lake. You know, that is kind of the thing I'm looking at.
Well, I mean, the sweeping is part of going in the lake, because, you know, Langley Shores Drive, the town-owned part, when it gets down the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, they have to, that sand, if that isn't swept up, you know where it goes, that little culvert right behind the mailbox is right into the lake.
Yeah.
And that's all coming off that hill.
So the DEP saying that we have to sweep it every year? Does DEP?
No, but that,
I'm just asking a question.
Well, one of the requirements in there is that you have to have a 319 grant.
Yeah,
And when that,
I haven't read that.
well, a 319 grant is when DEP comes in, and like I said before, Joe Anderson from York County Soil and Water come in, and they said, okay, yeah, you have to grade the road here. The only way that you can fix this here, this hill here, because it's gonna keep eroding, you can't put fill on that, you have to pave that hill. And so that the water is gonna gain speed coming down the hill, it's gonna accelerate, you're gonna have to put a catch basin in and slope it also. That speeding water coming down that was eroding before is all gonna go into this catch basin. They said you have to fix the crown in the road, you gotta fix these ditches, all those things were what was polluting. They said that Langley Shores Drive was putting in over 6 tons of sediment a year into Great East. That was in the watershed survey that was done.
So that has to be done every year?
No.
No.
Well, that's what I'm, that's.
No, but that's what-
So when you come into next year, you're gonna have a different, different attack to it, so it.
Well, I mean, if the crown of the road is not plowed off and you got a 6-inch berm all the way along your road, we don't have to recrown the road and bring gravel in. Those are the things, what you're trying to do is you're trying to, like it says, protect the stuff from going in the lake. So you have to do those things to keep the protection there, you know? I mean, that's the whole thing. But I mean, all the roads have to have,
So all the roads, DEP comes down and says, this is what you should be doing?
They did it initially to say, this is what your road should be done, and how you should keep it, to make it work. You gotta have that crown in it, you gotta have these ditches in it.
And I just think the town is looking out, the selectmen are looking out for the town, like Mr. Winchell was saying, and Mr. Walsh. I think we need to look at this a little bit more and see what actually is permitted maintenance going into the lakes, or it's just keeping up with the road.
Robin, there's, you can take a look at this, but you can't have
I need to
it.
take a look at that, yeah.
And it does specify, where the erosion problems are, what is the recommended fix?
Yeah, but is that counting every, that just a normal road? Does that count, Langley Shore?
This is,
Or whatever, does DEP come down and say, hey, this is what you gotta do?
when they
to
did the
do that?
watershed survey, they went to every road around the lake.
Okay.
All right, so Great East has had one done, Mousom has had one done.
So everybody's got a list, the town has a list of what that road needs to do.
If they have the watershed survey, yes. And I look at that.
So we have that.
We have
So
that, yes.
So if I go up and look at, say, Loop Road, I can say what DEP wants us to do.
Exactly. It shows even...
We have that?
It
We have
shows
that?
even red for bad, yellow for medium, and green is just basic. You gotta take care of it, though.
Yeah, so we have
And it's
that on-
all around the lake. I got a copy of it.
You got a copy of, and the town should have a copy of it, so if we wanted to take a.
You can't get on to get this money unless that was done.
Okay.
No one can just get up and say, oh, we gotta do this and that. You got a survey. And that's the only way we can get on this to get money, is you had to have a survey done. And I have a picture of Loop Pond, and it shows every place that water's leaking into that lake, no matter where it is, and it even shows how bad it is by colors.
Okay.
And it works.
Okay.
That road maintenance.
I'm just asking questions, I'm new to this board, so I'm asking questions, trying to learn like the rest of us. But I just think the town is looking out, if the auditor says that money's not being policed right, I think we need to take a look at that.
Okay, I understand.
We don't know
I
if she
understand,
said that, we don't know if she said that or not, because we don't know what the language is yet.
What we really need to do is we need to wait till tomorrow night, we'll have the meeting.
Right.
We'll have the questions, then
Right.
I
And the
strongly think we
selectmen would
need,
have a chance.
like we said last week, we need to sit down with the road committee, we need to sit down with the selectmen, and we need to talk about it. And we have the questions, and we can go from there. And if, by the way, Selectman Walsh said, it sounds like we can,
They haven't had a
pretty
chance
good
to
questions
look at
they want to ask us, and we can go off those questions. I think that's what we need to go off right now, and stuff like that.
We need to have these roads take pictures before, after, or during, before and after, so we can, all of us, the townspeople wanted to see it, oh, what did you do on that road? Here's the pictures. Here's before, here's during, and this is what we got done afterwards. Pictures don't lie, and you can't bend pictures, you can't, I think, just to cover everybody's butt, let's take pictures before you start the work, during you're working, and after, just like we do when we do our roads. We take pictures.
I imagine that the selectmen can change the application if you wanted to have pictures on it, but the application was...
Right, these are some of the things we need to look at.
The other side of it seems too, is like we're getting into the DEP and blah, blah, blah. It just seems like one of the simple maintenances every year is that, we come in, we grade it, in the winter, the plows take the crown off. That's just simply gonna happen repetitiously every year, and how far you have to go to, keep on applying to the DEP to do that seems like, that just seems complicated to me. That's a simple thing we have to maintain every year. That's just gonna be routine. That's
But I think
all
the
I'm saying.
selectmen are looking at if road come in with something different, like, I'm not saying anything, it's just,
Oh, I can understand the
make sure we all got all our ducks in a
I can
line.
understand the concern, but I understand too, it's like, there are some things that are just routine, every year, you gotta do
Yeah.
that, so that's what we're gonna do. We submit a bill for, we had to have it graded, because the plow took the grade out, and it's all, so we don't wanna puddle, so that doesn't need a lot of the DEP to be doing it.
No?
But that's what I'm
I'm
trying
just
to...
looking out for the other road, we know what your road needs.
Yeah.
There's other roads out there that, who knows what they're gonna need.
I understand, and you,
Actually took advantage of this process. And I heard there was 4.
Tattle Street?
Loop
I
Road,
think there's about,
Langley Shores, 4.
I think about 4 or 5. Yeah. There's 2 that's right
So you're not talking,
Which really isn't good, we would hope there would be more.
right, but they probably
The reason that we
don't
put,
qualify.
I'm coming.
the reason the cap of $3,000 was put on was because we did not know how many were going to actually apply.
Right, I think
It's
that-
been over a year now, and we estimated that there was, I think, 14 road associations that we could identify. So we knew that going in, and I know 4, if I remember correctly, 4 have been paid out, and I understand there's 2 that have not been forwarded to the road committee yet.
Sounds right.
So, and one of them, I believe, I had spoken to them, and I don't believe they qualify because they are not on the priority watersheds list, they're not on the integrated water quality monitoring assessment report, and they do not have a watershed survey done, so that would disqualify them anyway. And in looking at that application and knowing that, the probable recommendation would have to come from the road committee as a, no, this road does not qualify for those funds, because it doesn't meet what's on our application and what the statute requires.
All right, so I think we should table this until the selectmen has a chance to
Until
discuss it
tomorrow.
at their meetings.
And we'll, the majority of us will be there tomorrow night, so we'll be able to hear the questions, and I think last week you got said, I think we need to sit down with the selectmen and the board, and if we gotta rewrite some stuff, we'll rewrite some stuff. I mean, it is what it is. We can, I mean, everybody feels the same, we wanna do things for the camp roads, but gotta make sure we got our ducks in a row.
And we're
That's
not
the
gonna
only
get
thing.
sued or whatever down the line, that's all.
I think we're going in the right direction, but we
Yes.
just gotta, you know.
Does anyone have any burning desire before we table this?
I do. I'm new to the process here, I've been wanting to come to these meetings. I guess there's a couple of questions that I have. Ray Lopez from Acton, Buzzell Road. My question is, how much money was put aside for this project?
$50,000.
50,000. And on this 319 grant, what is is there a monetary value for that 319 grant?
The 319 grant is actually money that is allocated from the federal government under the Clean Water Act.
Okay, and how much is that?
It varies depending on the project.
Okay,
So
how many associations qualify by everything that they need to, that are actually within the lakes, or that they might have runoff? How many associations or how many roads will be out there that would actually qualify for this?
I couldn't.
So you said there's 14 associations, what you had said?
Yeah.
Not all of them qualify?
I know that Langley Shores received a 319 grant.
Okay.
Wilson Way.
Albert Road. So, and with this process being the way that it is, and there's only X amount of road associations that qualify for this, you take that amount of money that was given and given to the associations that do qualify for it, I would think that you'd be a $3,000 cap on it, since not everybody qualifies as far as a road there should be more money allocated to these different roads. When you have the assessments done by the people that you have to, is there a cost associated with that? Or do they just come out and do it for free?
Well, the surveys do cost money.
Right.
Do you know how much the
So
surveys
there's a
cost?
lot of money that is being spent by the associations before any of the work is done. Okay, so the $3,000 cap, common sense, you're looking at peanuts.
But to be in favor, no one knew. The selectmen didn't know, we didn't know how many road associations come under this.
Correct.
So I thought that that was a good starting point, that 3,000, because wait till we know what, how many rotors, there could be 50, I don't.
But not all the associations will qualify because, okay.
Yeah, we don't know that answer, yeah.
Yeah,
Wouldn't-
right.
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
the 319 grants are given out by the state through, like she says, the Clean Water Act. And what we had to do is we had to contact Joe Anderson, AWA, Acton Wakefield Watershed. Joe Anderson did the engineering. Acton Wakefield Watersheds did all the writing up of the grant. It's a grant process. They worked with the DEP. When the engineering was done, the DEP came out and said, looked at the road and said, yep, okay, we'll put you in for a grant. The first time we went for the grant, we were turned down. It's just like a regular public grant, the 319, but it's given by the state for what fixes the road so it doesn't pollute the lake. What this article did was to try and aid in maintaining what we did on their recommendations so we don't pollute the lake.
And there's a couple of things that have been talked about as far as common sense during the plowing, taking away the crown of the road. So the associations that do qualify will be asking for, or can ask for the same type of repetitive maintenance on a continual basis. The maps that they have that show the points where the majority of the runoff is going into the lakes, whether that be a catch basin, a dry well, or whatever, those have to be cleaned out. And I'm sure that that would be on a yearly basis. So the comment that I heard earlier was, we don't want to be giving the same associations the same money over and over again. That doesn't make sense, because they're going to have to go through the same process every year, because you're going to have the same problem every year. Okay, to me, I think that it should be looked at from as a whole type of situation, and maybe, like you said, take a look at the amount of money and the people that have qualified to use that. I just don't think that the associations now belong to one. I've been arguing about Buzzell Road for a long time, and that's a totally different story. But to me, this seems like peanuts to what these associations are having to spend.
So maybe it's a good time while the selectmen are finding out the questions to ask us, maybe they can look at moving the cap from $3,000 to maybe more, now that we're a year and a half into the grant.
There should be enough data collected to get a basis.
Yep.
If you have a 319 grant, you have to commit to maintaining it. If it's a basin or whatever the work is, we have 2 of the projects on our street, and that is included in it, and they come back and check it.
They do?
Yeah.
Does the town get a report from them?
I don't know.
No, it's not a town road, so why would the town get a report?
Yeah, it goes to...
Do we get a...
For the grant, right?
Still should...
But this is for the 319.
319 grant, has nothing to do with the town.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that be a possibility because of the 3106 that the towns now are supposed to supply money to help maintain the road?
Oh, it says may. They don't have to, but town meeting decided that that the town would. So they set that statutory fund up with the $50,000 to assist the private roads.
So wouldn't that be enough to request that they send the town, either the selectmen or the road committee, a report? It doesn't hurt to ask.
Who are you looking for a report from?
From that 319 grant.
The 319 grant. I mean, we received the 319 grant.
Sandy just said they'd come down and check it and make sure it's being maintained.
Arnie, did they check ours?
I don't even know whether we get notification. They know where they've put their money, and they've been down and checked and approved that.
Somebody should know, you know, so we can kind of keep a running record of, you know, oh, this guy came down, checked it, and everything's okay. So if somebody has a question, yeah, this guy came down and checked it, it's right here. I'm just saying, maybe we should have that.
Bob Berlin. The 319 is a matching fund grants. They're matching fund grants.
Okay.
Like we paid 40%. It was
Yeah.
40/60.
Yeah.
So I didn't know if you guys knew that.
My question was, that Sandy said that they come down and check it every so often. I think the town or the road committee should get a say, hey, yeah, this guy came down on this date, looked at it, it's being maintained, good. Now, if somebody comes in and asks a question, is this being maintained? We can say, yeah, this guy come down and say, yeah, it's being maintained.
We were looking at that too, as far as the maintenance goes, as far as what you're required to do is 10 years.
So they come down every 10 years?
No, I'm saying that you have to maintain it for 10 years.
You have to maintain it, okay.
To be,
When do they come down? Do they come down every year, every 2 years?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know. We did ours about 3 or 4 years ago.
I don't think they come down at all. Once the project's done, it's done.
No.
I've never got, we had a 319 grant done back in '06, project, a culvert project, and we never got notified by anybody that they were expecting it.
We had, Wendy Garland was down here, not this past summer, but the summer before, and she actually brought the woman, I have her business card, I can't remember the name, but she was where the main DEP gets their money from.
Yeah.
It is the Boston, EPA.
Right.
And she came to show on our road what we had done and the corrections that we had made.
Showed who?
The woman from Boston EPA, wherever they get their
Oh,
money
they
from.
get where they get their funds. So, but that's behind the scenes. Were you notified?
Yeah, they called us and said they were coming out.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, so we would be there to show them.
We had the same thing on Wilson Lake on Linda Shire, Lamar, and Wendy Garland. Came down last year.
All right.
But there's no report given to anybody.
Is that recorded?
Maybe we should ask for one. Maybe we should ask for one, just for record keeping. And I think we should table this until after the selectmen's meeting.
All right.
They say no, but you don't have anything now anyway.
Right. All right. Let's move forward.
Yes.
Next thing on the agenda is the grant application and the possible sketch design for West Shore. Will had asked me to go forward with setting up a meeting with the engineer that I spoke with at the conference. So we did schedule that. And we are meeting him Thursday morning to see if that's, if Will wanted to go forward with that. So, turnaround easements. Will, I've worked on your turnaround easements, and I've run into a little bit of a glitch. I can't find the source documents for the deeds on those two properties. I don't know if that's important or not.
All right.
So I need to do, the only deeds that are listed in Alfred are right-of-way deeds.
All right.
So the actual property deeds seem to be missing.
Okay.
So
Yeah, all right.
I've got to do some more research on that and see if that's actually something that we need in order to get those easements done. All right, but I just didn't want you to think I had
All right, no, that's all right.
not, yeah.
That's all right.
So I'm working on that.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Can we back up a minute to the grant application and the sketch design?
Yes.
Did you receive an email last Thursday night from Jennifer?
I did.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're still following through with having the sketch design done? Or meeting with the gentleman?
It's my understanding.
Even though your board didn't vote to move forward to talk about it, or to have it done?
All right, it was
And
my
you don't have all both road commissioners on board with it?
It's my, I have not heard from Joe as to whether he wanted to move forward or not anyway. Anytime I have talked to him about the culvert on Newbridge, he has not answered.
Okay.
So
You do know he's on vacation. He'll be
I do
back
know
tomorrow
he's on
night.
vacation.
He'll be back late tomorrow.
Yes. Will had asked me to go ahead and make the appointment, and that he would be there whenever. So I was under the assumption that he had the authority to ask us to do that. So that is why.
You have guidelines to go by?
I'm sorry?
You have guidelines to go by when you set up meetings, correct?
Like I said.
They were outlined when Jennifer sent you the email on Thursday?
Like I said, it was my understanding, and if I'm wrong, then I'm sorry, and
You're wrong.
I thought that Will had the authority.
You're wrong. You need to vote as a board to bring outside sources in to do things like that, so.
All right, so he does not have the authority to tell me to do that. Okay, that was my misunderstanding then. I thought that he did.
Okay. So you're meeting on, and do you need to use this building at all for?
No, we're meeting in the town, in the parking lot, because it's a neutral, central location.
Okay, okay. Well, you probably ought to vote to
All right.
do that on Thursday.
So, and now that I know that
Make
he
sure
does not
that
have
Joe's,
that.
well, you knew that from the email that went out Thursday, so make sure Joe's on board.
Yeah, like I said, I will contact him, and
I mean, we had this issue once before, so I just want to make sure we're following the rules, that's all.
Yeah, he hasn't responded, so, all right. I have a motion to talk to an engineer.
I move we talk to the engineer.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Conference updates. I spoke to, the conference was a fabulous experience. Will, I have some information for you on, and I'll be giving this to Joe also when I see him. This is for treated salt and for crack sealing.
Thank you.
Both gentlemen that I spoke to had said that they'd be happy to come in and do workshops if you guys wanted. So I will throw that out to you as to whether you want, have them come in.
All right, well, I gotta talk to Joe anyway,
Yeah.
one of these days, and I can talk to him about it, then I can let you know. So, and see if that's something he wants to do.
Okay.
Any cost for that, for them?
For them to come out? No.
You don't?
No.
Was it like the paving one we had earlier this year?
I'm sorry?
The paving presentation we had? Was it like that? Like they just comes out and gives a...
What they want to do is they want to come in and show you their products, to show you how they work, to give you the benefits, so you can ask pros and cons as far as if it's something that you wanted to pursue.
All right.
I did talk to Jerry Douglas. He'd be happy to come back in and do another workshop on paving. And so, I don't know if that's something that you want to talk to Joe about also. I know that the public might be interested in something like that.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, I've talked to Jerry quite a bit. I've called him on some questions, and he said the same thing. So, I mean, I'll just talk to Joe about it and see if it's something he wants to do. But if the people in the public want to do it, I mean...
Yeah. I mean, I know that he did one last March, and unfortunately, I was on vacation when he was here, but Cindy, how many people showed up? For
Where?
the paving class that Jerry Douglas did?
Oh, there were probably a dozen.
So,
There's a couple of us.
anyway, so do you think we should have a vote on whether to,
Should we ask Joe first, if he wants to do it? Because I feel like that's really...
okay, all right.
I mean, Ed just came up here and said that we gotta make sure both road commissioners are in the loop. So I think if we talk to Joe first.
Okay.
When he gets back. I have to talk to Joe anyway, so I'll talk to him about it.
Okay,
So-
and then you can let the committee know what the
Yeah.
consensus is?
Yeah.
And then we'll, so we won't we'll
Yeah,
just
we'll
table that for
just
now.
wait for it now.
But I wanted to make sure that you had the information that, from these gentlemen, and I believe that there's, on their cards, their websites are
Okay.
on there also.
All right.
So you can, even look at the website and get some more information.
All right.
All right. And the last thing I have on the agenda is HEB. The selectmen, correct me if I'm wrong, has decided to not move forward with that? Okay.
None of the plans are viable for the town, dollar-wise.
So, do we have any ideas to how we're gonna move forward, or are we still working on that? Okay. Okay. Anyone have anything that they'd like, any public comment?
I had spoken, I believe at one of the town selectmen meetings, and spoken with the road commissioner. I really don't even know who my road commissioners are, or how to get in contact with them. I don't see anything on the active website with names and phone numbers on there. And I believe I had talked to you about a snow fence on Buzzell Road.
Yep.
And the amount of snow that we get now on the roads and that aspect of it. And I was just trying to get some names so that who's gonna be doing that in the winter time. I know the other road commissioners, you can switch out summer and winter and whatnot. So who would be our contact person?
So in the wintertime, District 1 plows Buzzell Road, New Bridge Road, and Youngs Ridge, but in the summertime, that's Joe Letourneau. And if you want Joe's information, I can give it to you after the meeting, but that's something we've talked about doing since all the trees have been cut and we opened the land. I mean, last winter, we had a little problem with it last
Yeah,
winter.
not
too bad last year.
Kept up pretty good.
We kept up with it. So, I mean,
in our yard, something fierce.
we've talked about putting snow fence up, and I'm gonna think about it a little bit more, and, but I think we might try to monitor it first and see how bad it gets, but, it's been in the back of my mind about snow fence up there, it has.
Because I know that on that entire side of Buzzell Road, a lot of that, was gifted to the town of Acton. So I don't know where you guys are going, if you're looking at putting a snow fence there. I mean, a couple questions that come up to my mind is, the last time that we looked, we see that Buzzell Road is considered a private road. I don't understand when that happened, or is it a part of it? I know it only gets plowed to a certain point. But the entire road is now considered a private road. I don't understand how that happened. I just don't feel that any of the tax money that is being paid to the town by the people that live on that road, we don't get a bang for our buck. Okay? And that's one of my biggest problems.
I know you feel, I mean, like the summertime meetings, stuff like that, if that's what you're talking about, like a bang for your buck, that's all in the other road commissioner. I just plow it, that's all and this whole snow fence thing, I've thought about it, since now they cut all the trees down, and now they're putting in the house. It's in the back of my mind, I haven't totally made up my mind yet, but it might be something we might do, I just haven't made up my mind yet.
Okay.
Excuse me?
I don't think that's true. I mean, Robin lives right on top of the hill, and I send him down there to check.
We have never got a call from the school department that said the bus couldn't make it through.
I've seen it.
Well, I guess the school department needs to call the road commission and let us know that is a problem there, because we never got a call last year that the bus was stuck or couldn't make it through. Not on the road, not on the portion that we plow.
All right, thank you.
Anyone else?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?